Okay, so what is what we call PPC, or pay per click? Pay per click is a form of digital advertising where essentially the ad is displayed to the person in some way, shape or form, and then you pay according to how many people click, and that's why it's called pay per click. Right? But pay per click also encompasses, it's deceptive because a lot of them are not pay per click. They're pay per impression. Basically, impressions just means they've been seen by someone or they're displayed on the page. So pay per click is deceptive because it's not just paying per click, it's also you might have a certain amount of impressions that you pay for. That is more brand awareness, or perhaps it's not brand awareness, it could just be a strategy of spending the budget. And pay per click is definitely for driving leads directly. The great thing about what distinguishes digital versus traditional advertising, right? What is the main difference? You're still getting things in front of people. The difference is digital is, in a way, more direct, because what I mean by that is traditional advertising, you run a campaign, how do you measure the results? How do you measure the results?
With whoever purchases it? Or
yeah, but how do you measure? Say you run 2 different advertising campaigns, right? That month, and it's just on TV. One's on TV, one's billboards. How do you know? You can't, right? Absolutely no way. Yeah, you can't tell who purchased the product. Maybe they had absolutely no impact. You don't know. Maybe people are like finding it online and well, no, not say online, but let's just say people are buying it because of the brand awareness, but they've actually, this impact is, it's impossible to measure, right? Unless you're following people around going, oh, they saw it, okay, yeah, okay, and then you track them for months and see if they buy, it's impossible. The difference between digital and traditional advertising is you can track it, right? Every time you go online, you click on something, you're tracked. Your IP address is tracked, cookies are stored on your computer, which basically say, this is a particular person and the last time they logged in, and a whole bunch of data about what you actually did on that site. So it's because it's tracked, you can measure it. And that's why we love digital advertising here in ITEL, because we're lead gen specialists, right? So we want to be able to track it. Because at the end of the day, you can spend X amount of money on your digital advertising. Because you can track clicks and you can track it all the way to the actual deal, and then the deal goes through, you can actually relate your bottom line impact here all the way back to how much did you spend on your digital advertising. And even more refined, you can actually see which keywords actually brought me those deals, right? So in a way, and that's why we do digital advertising here in ITEL, because it is very much part of that lead generation sort of flow. We don't do general advertising because it's not measurable. It's what we would call fluffy. Because in a B2B context, it's all about ROI. How much do I spend? It's not B2C. B2C is different. You've got brand awareness, you've got all the rest. So that's why we do digital. Okay, so that's pay-per-click. What is search engine optimization, otherwise known as SEO? You'll hear this a lot. Basically, this is when you search for a particular search term. So you search for, give me a shoe brand.
Siren.
Okay, siren. You search for siren shooters, right? What determines what comes up in Google?
The words that I use?
The words that you use, yes. But there will be 10,000 sites that have the word siren shoes on them. There's so many different distributors, retailers, etc., right? What determines which link comes up first? Right? Which has the precedence? Because they're all ranked. The 10,000 sites will appear, but you'll never go through all 10,000. You'll just go to the first page. Right? So there's 6 or 8 results. So SEO, search engine optimization, is a way to rank higher in those search terms. Right?
Okay.
Pay-per-click also, and I'll show you the difference. Right? Here's your Google search. You do a search. Right? Anything that appears here is due to SEO. Right? Or what we call organic results, right? Organic. So this is organic. Now anything that appears here is pay-per-click, otherwise known as paid links. Right? Okay. So you'll notice PPC is right at the top there. So there's a little blurry grey line here where most people don't actually realise when they click up on the top result, or what they call the top result, it's actually pay-per-click. It's not an organic search result. But if you look closely, you will see this very, very faint line which distinguishes two, and there might be a little bit of shading, just so people know it's paid. But most people have no distinct. All they see is one page and they go top link, click. That's why pay-per-click is quite effective. But having said that, there's also a lot of value around organic, right? So what is, okay, so let's compare. So does that make it clear what pay-per-click versus SEO is? Now remember, this is not all just Google, right? There's also Bing, there's also other search engines. But in reality, it's Google. It's Google, right? And that's why they're a very, very wealthy company, because they dominate this space. Because people pay for SEO, they don't pay Google, but they pay for pay-per-click. Because this is the most immediate result. This one is a longer term. So I ask you, why would you do this versus this one?
You don't have to pay for it?
You definitely have to pay for this. Because people are running campaigns, they're running activities that will boost their rankings. People that don't will get ranked like on the 50th page down here. No one will ever see that. So people are definitely paying for it, and it takes a lot longer to build up to get to the first rank. I'll tell you why. Because this one, for every one click here, right? There's 8.5 clicks here. So I'll tell you why. Because a lot of people do know these are paid links. A lot of people. Even though there is a blurry line between these two, people still know that this is organic. And they'll read through it because these sound like ads. These look like ads. They feel like ads. And as a consumer society, we have picked up a knack to go, this is an ad. This is not an ad, right? And that's why organic searches are still 8.5 times higher. Now, what's more interesting, right, is that how much of these convert, right, compared to this. So when I say convert, actually result in some kind of activity. Maybe a contact us form, some kind of conversion. Maybe they buy the actual product online. So these convert, basically this converts 1.5 times this, right? So basically when people click on an ad, they're more likely to purchase because most of the time they know they clicked on an ad. So they're in that frame of mind, I'm going to buy, I'm going to purchase, I'm a serious buyer. Whereas here, it's more research. They're researching. They want to see what's out there. And that's why the conversion rate is lower here. Okay, so if you take into account these figures, 8.5 times that's versus 1 of that, in actual fact, the pay-per-click versus SEO, SEO still converts 6 times more, right, than pay-per-click. If you take into account just the figures, it's still 6 times more. So SEO, extremely powerful. Why do people don't do it? Because they may not understand it. It takes a ramp-up period, so it doesn't. You don't like say your rankings, your rank here. It's not going to go bam up here. It's a slow process. It could take months before you get up to the first page. So whereas here, if you pay for it, you'll get up there. Now, obviously, you don't just get the first. You don't get the first link unless you pay, right? And it's actually an auction system here. The more you pay, the more likely you will be. Oh, and the other interesting bit is how much do you think people spend PPC versus SEO?
Isn't the average pay-per-click about $3?
Well, it's not how much they pay for it, but it's like, say you've got a budget. You've got a budget. How much percentage do you think people put in pay-per-click versus SEO?
Heaps more in pay-per-click than SEO.
Absolutely. 8 times more. So 80% is spent on pay-per-click versus 10% here, approximately. Yeah, so does that make sense? I'm spending 80% here, this is 6 times more effective. Doesn't make sense, right?
Okay.
Doesn't make sense. And that's why SEO, fastest growing form of digital advertising, most effective. But it has its downsides. Downsides is the ramp-up period. Ramp-up period is longer. In terms of cost, it costs less. Definitely costs less than pay-per-click. Well, I'm going to go into how SEO works and how pay-per-click. How does Google determine whether you come up first, or you come up 8th, or you come up on the 50th page, right? How do you know, right? It's all about keywords, obviously. If I search for siren, shoes, right? right? I get 10,000 pages for siren shoes. How do I pick one from the 10,000? How does Google pick one? What it does is, essentially, number one, you need to have siren shoes on your page, right? So you want keyword relevancy. Keyword relevancy. So it's not just about siren shoes. It's got to have things about shoes. If you have just siren shoes and the rest of the site is about dogs, yeah, exactly, dogs, then it's not that relevant, is it? Maybe that one reference is great, but the rest of the site's about dogs, so relevancy is low. If it's got siren shoes mentioned like 50 times in that page and throughout the site hundreds of times because it's a siren shoe reseller or it's a siren shoes fan page, relevancy is high, right? Relevancy is high. So firstly, it's a certain amount of relevancy. So let's say it is 10% relevancy. What's the other 90%? I'm making up a figure. I don't exactly know what those figures are, but to give you a sense, right? What's the other 90%? I'm going to call it popularity, right? What that means is how many other sites link to that site with a relevant keyword. So if it linked to that site with the word dogs, right? So imagine other sites. You've got a whole bunch of other sites here, and there's like things called, obviously what hyperlinks are.
Yeah.
Now the thing in hyperlinks, the interesting thing is there's words in hyperlinks. So the words could be dogs who love shoes, right? And that link goes to here, right? Or it could say siren shoes fan page, right? Okay. Links to that page, right? Or links to whatever, a page, right? Now, it's the popularity and the relevancy. So I could have 50 pages that link to me, but if it's about dogs who love shoes, it's not relevant to siren shoes.
Yeah.
But if I have 50 pages that say siren shoes in those links and link to me, then I'm going to rank high. So popularity is not just about how many sites. You could have 10,000 sites who link to you. If they link to you about dogs, nothing to do with your original search term, siren shoes. If they link to that site with siren shoes, okay, then it's popularity. So when I say popularity, I actually mean in these 10,000 results, right, which is the page among these 10,000 which has the most pages linking to it?
First page.
Becomes first page, yeah? And that's how the popularity, so the relevancy is already captured with the 10,000 results. That's relevancy. Then it's how popular is it? How many links come in, right? That's it. That's how like organic search rankings occur. So now what does SEO do? SEO works on these two. So what it does for keyword relevancy is what it does is then it optimizes content, right? So you go through your site and you make sure siren shoes is all over your site, in every page, right? This is really simplistic, but that's what they do. They optimize the content. But that's only 10%. The majority is link building, right? Now, you understand why it's called link building?
Yeah.
Right? So link building is all about how many sites can I get to link back to me with relevant keywords. So can I add another 5 or 6 pages with siren shoes back to me, right? Now where the complexity comes in, where it becomes very complex, is that these sites themselves have to be, you can't just create a site and it's only been running for 2 days and have siren shoes linking to you. That'd be too easy, because then you just keep building sites linking back to you. Very easy to link to. This has to be a site that's also itself popular.
Okay.
Right? Maybe for something else. So it might be popular about, I don't know, clothes or fashion. Right? So the more relevant it is to this, and the longer it's been running, the more popular it is, the more weight, all right? It's just like when you're popularity. Think popularity at school, right? It's not about just how many people you're popular with, how many people would say, yeah, she's great. It's also the people themselves. If popular people think you're popular, then you're more popular, right?
Yeah.
It's also about the weight of their influence, right? And that is what SEO is all about. SEO is all about optimizing content and link building. Right. So now, optimizing content, where do you get these, where do you get the keywords? I mean, where do you get the keywords? Right, you might do siren shoes, but it's not, say you did siren shoes with heels, but maybe that's not a keyword term people look for. Siren shoes would definitely be one, but perhaps you're using, I don't know, maybe you, on your site you call it siren heels, right? But how do you know siren heels is actually searched for by people? That's what this is about. It's keywords. It's all about finding the keywords that are relevant to you, but also people search for. There's no point using like keywords that no one searches for. And you can do that. Like in Google, you can actually search and see, I want to go, you put siren heels in there, it'd go, no. You search siren shoes. That's what people are searching for. They don't, you might call it heels, that's great, but 10,000 people are searching for siren shoes. So that's probably the keyword you should use. So it's all about keywords. One of the great places to find keywords is in your pay-per-click. Because if you run pay-per-click campaigns, then you know what keywords. You remember that report I sent you?
Yep. Shows
you which are the most popular keywords that convert the most business.
Yeah.
They're good keywords to use because they're searched for, and they tend to be searched for by people who will actually convert and give you a deal, give you business. Yeah.